Hello and welcome back to Design. Today we're going to be talking to contractors, most people's biggest fear. But today we're going to be telling you why you should not be afraid of this, simply because if you do it the right way, you're going to get the right results. Stay with us to know exactly how to do it. Welcome back. Today I am very excited to be hosting Engineer Dina. She comes from a legacy behind her in construction. Today we're going to be talking about all contracting and what to do with contractors. Hi Dina.
Hi Sarah.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Pleasure.
I have so many questions for you.
I'd imagine.
We are today in a project that you have executed that is a landmark.
Absolutely.
But before we get into that, a lot of people have fear when dealing with contractors.
Absolutely.
There's a serious stigma involved.
100%.
And we're here to clarify.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's in the mindset of many people that
Right.
contractors are the bad people.
Always.
Always the case. So we have a lot of education to be done to shift that mindset
Yes.
and try to get people to understand things from the perspective of the contractor.
Right. Hear their perspective.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly.
So I'm going to ask you first of all, what kind of criteria should we look for to make a project successful when dealing with a contractor?
That's a very interesting question, Sarah. Prior to the contractor, there's the design stage and consultancy stage.
Right.
And that builds the foundation in establishing a successful project because it all stems from that. Associating with the right design and a right consultant will then enable you as a client to move forward with the right contractor.
Right, right. So it's not just like ignoring one phase, then going for the best contractor. It's a whole stage.
Process.
Yes.
Everything has to be done in a certain process to secure successful end results, one way or another.
Right.
So then, taking that into consideration, of course, it could be overwhelming, especially if you're doing something for the first time in this field and you don't have the knowledge in the market. So you think to yourself, where do I start from? Especially that you have this stigma about dealing with contractor. So you're entering that venture with fear, doubt, and expecting it to be challenging.
Chaos or...
Exactly. But you can just relax and take a step at a time and just pick or associate yourself with the right designer, consultant that could lead you later on to selecting the correct contractor.
So when we come again to selecting a contractor, why is there, do you think, issues arising with contractors? Like, why do we always put the blame on the contractor?
it's easy to blame when things go wrong, unfortunately. And who's to blame? It's always
The
the
one who sees,
contractor.
yeah, the one
Exactly,
who sees their work.
exactly. So the start of any relationship is always challenging.
Right.
And the more you communicate initially, the more you have understanding of one another, it makes that relationship
Develop into
develop
the right
into
path.
the right path. And it takes time because it's, again, as I said, it's a start of a relationship.
Right.
So starting a relationship,
You have to have the right mindset. You have to have the trust. You have to have the
a number of
understanding.
factors.
Yeah.
And it's just like when you're hiring someone, you want to employ somebody. So the first thing you want to look is to look at their CV.
Right.
So I would suggest, okay, you are interested in that particular contractor, ask them for their CV.
Right. Go see their project.
And everybody will probably show you the best CV, but then you want to take it further
Yeah.
and ask for references maybe,
Right.
just like you do when you're employing someone.
Very true.
So that could also add extra
Yeah.
information that enable you make that decision. And then, so between the CV, the previous references, and I'd always advise meet the people you're going to work with.
Of course, to see where intuition lies, maybe.
Exactly. Intuition plays a big part because especially when it comes to personalized projects, whether it's your first villa, your first coffee shop. So this kind of stuff, like you need to have that direct contact
Yeah.
with the person that's going to execute it for you.
Right.
So interview wouldn't hurt.
No.
And
It's a must, if anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it works from both ways,
Right.
whether you're the client or the contractor.
They have to have that
It's a
chemistry.
start of a relationship. You have it's a partnership.
Very true. And
So-
for like at least a year, let's say.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. A year, 2 years, sometimes
Depends on the
it's 3
contractor.
years.
Nice.
So, and you have to be very clear about communicating your expectations.
So you slightly touched down on the topic of trusting your intuition, meeting, and it all brings us to that chemistry between us and the contractor, us and the
Exactly.
architect. But what makes a good chemistry between the client and the contractor?
Trust. It's very, very important to be honest from the beginning.
Yeah.
Whether you're the client or the contractor, you have to be very transparent.
Is there a contractor that's transparent?
Well, it worked for us.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes you a legacy, right?
It definitely worked for us. The transparency is very important. Never be like fearful of sharing
Don't put your
whatever
guard
fears
up.
you have. Express them.
Right.
Either way,
Right.
communicating them, expressing them, being honest,
Yeah.
could really build that trust. And the minute you build that trust,
Right.
chemistry works. Because as long as you have that fear factor,
Yeah.
then there's no chemistry.
No, because you're expecting the worst.
Exactly.
You're waiting for it. If
exactly.
anything.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you're in that alert mode all
Yeah.
the time,
Yeah, every
which is
little thing.
unease. Unease. So again, I mean, it's just like
Trust.
any relationship in life. It
Yeah.
takes effort from
Yeah.
both parties.
Yeah.
It has
Know
to.
what you're stepping in.
You have to like show the interest from both parties
Right.
for it to work.
Mm.
And having that team will eventually lead it to a successful project, 100%.
As a contractor's team, the contractor's
Both,
team.
because- because
okay.
whoever parties are involved in any project, whether it's the contractor, the consultant, the designer,
Right.
the client, if there's a synergy between all of them working
Yeah,
as
I
a
love this
team,
word,
then everybody will be inspired, everybody will be in the right mindset to produce. Even we notice with the employees with certain structure of projects where everybody is understanding, everybody is empathetic, everybody is willing to see an end successful result, you find the performance of the employees
Of course.
skyrockets
Yeah. Yeah.
without having to put much effort into it
Yeah.
because it's the right synergy. So this is the ideal situation,
Hopefully. good
which
luck.
happens.
Sometimes.
It happens. It happens.
With you at least, so that's that's a success story.
Definitely, it happens,
Yeah.
and that's very rewarding because you have to be enjoying what you're doing one way or another
Of course.
to produce.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
we all work our best when we're in the right mindset.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Before we move on to our next topic, what can we say to clients about to venture into picking a contractor? Like one tip or something they can go with.
Okay, well, lately I came through an expression which I find very effective in all types of relationships. It's like uncommunicated expectations.
Right.
So the more you communicate your expectations, because as human beings in one way or another, we think that what goes on in our head is what everybody is thinking, which is not always the case.
No.
So you have to be very aware of what are your expectations and communicate it clearly.
Amazing. That's very good.
Even in a bullet point. This is what I'm expecting. This
Yeah.
is the end result I
Yeah.
want to see. And again, from the contractor side,
Yeah.
this is my expectation of you as a client.
Right.
Do you have the right finances? Are you aware of what you're going to purchase?
Yeah.
Because procurement plays a big role in delaying projects.
Of course.
So all these factors, so mutually from either sides, to secure a successful project. And successful project stems from three things: completing the project on time, with high quality, and within budget.
Amazing.
And having a long-standing relationship as an end result with the entire team.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate,
The best reward.
the best reward for any project.
Amazing.
Yeah, it makes you step back into any project with pride.
Of course. Like we are right here now.
Exactly, which leads us to this magnificent landmark.
All right. Stay with us where we're going to be talking about where we are right now. Welcome back. We're standing here right now in one of the projects that they have constructed. This project is a landmark. We would like to know more about how was the process of creating something that stands out for generation.
Well, it was a very long process, and it started from very early on planning.
Right.
A project of this magnitude would need a whole lot of planning initially, prior to us stepping in as a contractor. And luckily for us, the client in this particular project was aware of this, because they could understand the magnitude of a project of this size.
You're right.
So they cooperated with renowned consultants to create the design of this project.
Yeah.
So we stepped in obviously at the tender stage, and for us as a contractor, we knew this was in the brewing. So we took initial steps in planning as well. One of the first things we did was recruiting the right people,
Right.
even prior to winning the project.
Really?
Yes.
That's got to
So we recruited the right people that has the knowledge that could eventually lead to this success.
Right.
And these people, they really studied the project in a very good manner and way. So when it was time to tender, we knew exactly
What you're going after.
what we're going through, and then there was a presentation process conducted by the consultant to enable them select the right contractor.
Right.
Luckily, because we were prepared, so we showed knowledge,
Right.
and based on that knowledge, they could trust
Yeah.
that this landmark is in the right of the in the hands of the right contractor.
Right. Right.
And
It shows. Like now we're standing here, let's say 8 or 9 years after it's been done, and it still looked very well maintained. The finishes still look, it's fresh.
so every aspect of the project was engineered.
Yeah.
All the specialities were involved and worked together simultaneously to come up with this end result,
yeah.
which is successful in all manners. There's a lot of things that happened behind scenes,
Yeah.
which no one is aware of. So a lot of studies were conducted.
Yeah. Yeah.
all kinds of studies were
Right.
conducted.
Right,
So you
acoustic,
can,
walls,
exactly,
structure.
acoustics, MEP. If you sit here, like it's always very well ventilated. You don't smell food,
True,
and
you don't
even though
even
it's
see
a
the AC ducts.
smoking
Yeah.
restaurant, you don't smell the smoke. You don't come out stinking with.
Yeah, you've definitely done the right job and the right studies.
Yeah,
You've
yeah.
left a landmark and you've left a kind of a legacy in this industry, we could
Which
say.
we are very proud of, and to see it like being designed in the right manner
Yeah.
also brings joy when you execute it.
Yeah.
So as I said, everything was well studied and well taken care of.
There's something I have to ask. It's not common to see women in construction.
Yeah.
And yet here you are in one of the biggest companies in Kuwait. Could you tell us about your story and what you have faced?
Sure, I come across that question quite often. Women in construction, we are the minority, obviously. The thing is, I grew up into this culture from both parents. We were exposed to the construction industry from a young age.
Right.
And I always wanted to pursue that as a career. I always wanted to become an engineer. So just it was a natural flow of things. I never thought being a female would restrict me from pursuing that career. It was never in my mindset at all. That's why when I pursued this career, everything just flew naturally, one thing to the other. So initially, you start just like a site engineer, project manager, so on and so forth, and then years pass by, and eventually you step into a leadership position.
Yeah.
So roles change. So for females who are concerned, just remember, being on site and doing the day-to-day engineering work is not something that's gonna carry on forever. It's just a step that could lead you to the
Next stage.
next stage. And even though it wasn't the exact plan, but without knowing it,
You just follow through. Because it was
things
your
fall-
passion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Things naturally fall into the right direction.
What do we say to those young engineers, young architects that are going onto site? How can we tell them, like,
Yeah, knowledge is power.
right?
To gain trust and respect, no matter where you are, whether you're walking into a construction site, whether you're walking into a meeting. If you are powered with knowledge, then you can definitely be more confident.
Amazing.
The minute you are more confident, you'll have a voice.
Very true. Very true. That's a
So
great
one
advice.
thing leads to the other. Obviously, we always have to somehow work harder
Start of our lives.
one way or another.
Yeah.
But why not? I mean,
No,
work harder.
of
It's
course.
okay.
We're paving the way
Yes.
for generations ahead.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And with years, I mean, I graduated a long time ago, but things definitely has changed.
Yeah.
Whether it's here in Kuwait or anywhere
Yeah.
else, things has changed where women presence, women leadership, women in construction is more and more
Yeah.
common as
Breaking the doubt that people would have with this.
Exactly. So initially, like stepping in as a young engineer on a project, you could see that the people might be concerned. Will she be able to manage? Can she control
Yeah.
labor?
It's a
Can she
heavy industry.
control all that? But
Right.
again, with knowledge,
You get the right. That's an amazing advice. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
It's been an honor to have you with us on
thank
board.
you, Sarah.
And I hope this has inspired a few of the younger girls to kind
I
of
hope
go
so.
with their passion and not to give it up just because of gender.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Thanks again.
Thank you, Sarah.
Hello, it's a pleasure being here with you today. We're here to talk about home theater system. In other words, your home cinema. There are so many things to consider when we talk about a home theater system. There are the room size and the room isolation. There is the seating area, there is a speaker system, and the monitor or the screen. Now, if we talk about each one of them, actually each one of them is dependent on the other. Depending on the room size, you're going to have to look at the size of the screen, the number of seatings, and how you're going to isolate the room. So when you think about creating a home theater system, what you need to do is, before learning how to create it or how to design it, is to consult a company that's specialized in home theater systems, designing of home theater systems, not selling products. So in other words, you go with a company that understands the different standards that there are in the home theater system. For example, there's a standard called THX. This standard is basically links the sound with the room size, with the screen size, with the sweet spot. What we mean by sweet spot is the seat in the middle of the room, the center focus of the person watching the movie. The interesting thing about home theater systems, of course, is that you want to immerse yourself in the movie. When you watch a movie, you do feel what the movie is trying to send you, the messages. Now, the important thing about the home theater is you want to ensure that the systems you have in place are actually capable of immersing you inside the experience of the movie. It makes a big difference. And what's really more important is whatever you design should be suitable for you. Don't let anyone or anybody try to advise you how to design it. Consult a company that's specialized in how to do it, learn how to do it, and enjoy doing it. After talking about the 4 important elements that you need to consider in a home theater system, let's start with the first one, the room. The room has to be completely isolated. There are special materials you have to use that you basically make the room contained within the sound, so the sound out of the house doesn't disturb the home theater or the cinema, and the sound inside the cinema doesn't disturb the rest of the house. So that's one important element you have to consider. Within the room size and the room dimensions, we go to the seating area. The seating area is also important because the number of seats will depend on the size of the monitor that you're going to be watching, the number of speakers and the number of speaker systems that you're going to have in place. So the room size is very much interlinked with the other elements we talked about. But the most important thing about the room that you need to consider is how you're going to isolate it, how you're going to make sure the sound is inside the room and doesn't exit the room, and the sound out of the room doesn't come back inside the room. Also within the room, it's important that you realize that the room should have no windows, and that's probably common sense, but it's actually important. The room should have no windows, and the air conditioning system in the room has to be designed in a special way, where the sound of the air conditioning doesn't disturb the sound of the movie or whatever you're watching inside your home cinema. In the dedicated home cinema also, you need to consider the number of seatings. The standards gives you, depending on the size, gives you how much seats you can have. So the consultant you're working with should be able to tell you how many seats you need depending on the room size you have. The room size is the key of every other aspect inside the home theater system. First of all, you isolate the sound, you make sure the sound doesn't come in, you make sure the sound of the movie doesn't go out, you make sure the sound of the other utilities around you, like the air conditioning, any, for example, restroom, toilets around the room, should be all away, isolated within the sound of the room. After considering the room size, it's important to think about the sound system in the room. The sound system in the room is one of the key elements in any cinema. Why? Because when the movie is being recorded, there is a special format of sound that is designed for you to watch and listen to, so you become part of the movie, you feel the movie. It's an immersive experience. The sound system components basically consist of a subwoofer, a surround sound, high speakers, and stage speakers. These speaker systems are basically capable of delivering various formats of sounds. There are various formats of sounds. For example, there's DTS, there's Dolby Atmos, there's DTS-X. Depending on what you want, the quality of sound you want to watch, you have to select the right sound system. The consultant who's going to work with you should be able to basically give you all the options available in the market. And there are so many options for sound system. There are many known ones, and there are many good unknown ones. So you have to watch for both. So after talking about the room size, the sound system, we consider the seating area, which is basically one of the most comfortable, cozy things in the home theater system. The seating area, there are special seats designed for home theater system. Recliners, lazy boy chairs, chairs that are basically electronic. Instead of having to push something manual, you push a button and the seat becomes bigger. Depends on what type of seat you need. But remember, the seat depends on how comfortable you are in that seat, not how good the seat looks inside the cinema. So remember this, the seat has to be comfortable for you as a viewer, where you can sit down, watch a movie for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, without being tired or feeling any shoulder pain. So the seating area is very critical because basically it's where you're going to be sitting down for a long time, immersing yourself inside the movie. So after we spoke about the room size and the room design, the seating area and the speaker system, we talk about the screen, one of the key elements of any home theater system. For the screen, you have multiple options. You could have an LCD projector, you could have a laser projector, a short throw projector, a far throw projector, or you could have a normal TV with a big size, depending all on your room size. We recommend normally a laser projector, where the screen will be very crisp and you can have the highest quality of a movie. But remember, it always also depends on your quality, on what you're comfortable with. You don't really have to have one of the fanciest projectors to watch a good movie. All depends on the all four elements we talked about. They're all interlinked. So if you have a small room size, maybe you want to put an LCD. If you have a big room size, most likely you're going to end up with a big projector. So your consultant should be able to tell you what are the best options to have the best immersive experience in your home theaters. And also, one of the common things people forget about when they design a room is the door. The door of the room has to be, of course, isolated, as you know. As well, when you finish designing a room and you finish implementation of the room, there's one thing your consultant has to do, and make sure that it's done. Basically, identifying the sweet spot of the room where you're going to calibrate all the sound system around that sweet spot. That sweet spot is very important, and make sure the consultant you work with understand that concept and explains it to you very well, and it's done properly, and the room is done in a way that puts you in a place where you need to be. One important insight I'd like to share with you is when people think about home theater systems or home cinemas, they always think about big screen, and that's really a very wrong concept. What's really important about home theater is your viewing angle. There are certain standards where your consultants have to advise you about of how far you're sitting behind the screen. The closer you are, basically the smaller the screen. The further you are, the bigger the screen. I'll give you a small example. For example, the VR that you wear that makes you immerse yourself in a 3D world. That VR actually has a very small screen size, but it's because it's very close to your eye, it makes you think it's huge. So if your room is big, then you need a big screen. If your room's small, you probably don't need a big screen. It depends on your viewing angle, and that's something your consultant should be really aware about and should really teach you and show you that in the design of the room. Finally, we hope that every Kuwaiti home has a home theater system. or a home cinema? Because a home cinema, home theater system is a place where family gathers and enjoy quality time. In today's world, where everybody having their mobile, being silo, a home theater system is a place where families can gather, watch a quality movie, immerse themselves in the movie, and even after watching the movie, you're gonna sit down and discuss the movie, the story behind the movie. So a home theater system is a valuable element, and we think every house should have it.